Very well. The chair recognizes the right honourable member for
I
Centerville.
was hoping the member for that there was a Methodist in the House, but I think as someone who's been christened in Wesley Methodist Church by the Reverend William Makepeace, it is appropriate for me to join colleagues in being able to acknowledge the defining contribution of the Methodist Church to the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, and in particular, Trinity Methodist Church, which historically carries that history magnificently. John Wesley, who is quoted as having written words that have been passed down through the centuries. And I'm going to try to think of it, but the meaning of those words are that you are admonished to do all that you can for as many people as you can, in every place that you can, at all times that you can. But it was a clearly an open-ended commitment to Christian charity. And he is famous for it. It is in the historic church in Harbor Island. It's inscribed there. And I always try to stimulate my memory when I go in there, so it's got something that you can quote. But you have my grandfather, W. Allen, used to take my mother, and she was the youngest one of her brothers and sisters, and put them on the back of a truck and drive from Tarpon Bay to preach at the church in Hatchet Bay, or Alice Town. He was one of those pioneers, lay ministers, who moved up and down Eleuthera in his time as a tomato farmer, etc., etc. But he is the father or grandfather of Ed Allen, the evangelist, who really, Al McCartney, the brethren, he has, and of course, his son-in-law is Rex Major. So it is an illustrious assembly of religious personalities. And finally, Mr. Speaker, that the Methodist Church has also contributed to education in the country and continues to do so. So as we mark 150 years of history, I think it's important again for the country to note that the contribution has been an enduring one, that it has gone beyond the spirituality vested in their parishioners, that has gone into shaping values and shaping characters and molding Bahamian citizens. And so on this occasion, really, I would want to join as the Prime Minister of the country, my colleagues, in being able to salute the church, Trinity, and finally to say to my former colleague who is sitting in the front seat, really as an appendage to his wife. It's not him. He's sitting here because his wife is the personality who is an officer and the ranking member, so he's only sitting here to hold her hands. But it is good to see you back in Parliament, and you're sitting between, on the right, the Reverend Higgs, your left, and on the right, the Reverend Charles Sweeting. Bill Higgs and Charles Sweeting are iconic figures in the Methodist Church, again, who in their own right are major contributors to the church. And it is good to see the two of you, and particularly you, Reverend Sweeting, that you are still able to take these stairs and walk up here, having yourself stood at the bar of this house as a pastor, as a leader in the House of Assembly. And so for me, I thought I should join them in recognizing each of you also for the personal contributions you are making, and of course to Mrs. Higgs, who is here as well, and Mrs. Wisdom. Finally, sir, the Member of Parliament for Cat Island Rum King from Salvador, spoke with some nostalgia about having some connection with being an athlete. There are some of us who can speak to having represented the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. I'm one of them. And so I have shared the glory of being on the stage and listening to the stadium say, Peri Christie de la Bahama numero cinco, and so forth and so on. So I want to, in that spirit where I claim to have been an athlete, to salute the athletes who are here present, to say to you that if I had your opportunity at your age to be as good as you are and to have the kind of talent that you have, I would have been something very, very special in the world. You are just, I have the greatest admiration for those of you who are so young, but so talented and so gifted. And I want to encourage you because wherever you go, you have been holding up your country. And when you look at your flag, right, that's what you're doing. The reputation of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. When you get into the pool and you're swimming for the flag, you're swimming for the people, and you're doing so magnificently. So again, I join all of my colleagues in congratulating you and congratulating the coaches and the parents without whom you would not be able to do these things, and just say to you, a job well done, and please continue for the glorification of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas to do good work.